We're here with Chef Ian Fleischmann, and we're about to walk into Fable, check out the scene, learn a thing or two, I'm sure. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's go.
This episode brought to you by Restaurant Systems Pro.
We didn't want people to see the dining room when they come up. We don't want you to know what you're walking into. There's this feeling of transportation that we want to invoke. So it's very intentional that everything has been blocked off.
Yeah.
We've drawn a lot of inspirations from restaurants that we loved around the world. If you look at this fence, like this is Pujol in Mexico.
Yeah. During the interview, you talked about the five senses. And so as we're going through the space, like what are the senses are being hit as we're walking through?
So obviously, like this tunnel is extremely visual. You see it; it's otherworldly.
Yep.
But when you're walking up, it's like we burn copal. So before you even get here, you smell something. And a lot of people don't know what copal is, but it's this resin that they burn in Mexico. It's a very spiritual kind of thing, but you can smell it from a block away.
Yeah.
So it's almost triggering that if you don't know what it is and that becomes your association, whenever you smell copal, you're going to think Fable. We wanted to put a big focus on, obviously, the music part of it. The last 25% of us opening is we really drive the music. Throughout the night, it really picks up throughout the night. When you come at 6 o'clock, it's very light. When you come at 8 o'clock, it's a little bit heavier, but you come around 10 or 11 o'clock, it's very
So where
booming.
are we?
Or if you just had a big meal and you don't feel like walking around, you don't feel like just sitting at the table anymore, you can come plop down over here and we have cocktail servers bringing you drinks. We have a very, very in-depth tea program that's been curated by somebody in town called JoJo. We have Intelligentsia coffee. Like, we've tried to find the best of everything and pluck it and make it available. A large portion of our service is all based off of tableside elements. So we have like 13 custom tableside carts that are modular, and they can turn into either a tableside bar cart or they can turn into like a carving station. All of our proteins on the entree section are all large format, so it's whole chickens, giant steaks, whole duck, whole fish, and we carve everything tableside.
Oh, beautiful.
That's our way of dealing with the problem of the kitchens downstairs, and the kitchen's a good distance from pretty much all of the seating.
Yeah.
So in order to serve food hot, that was our solution.
Okay.
Carve a chicken tableside, and you can see the steam pouring out of it when they break it down. Goes by Demont Rig.
Yep.
Custom designed for the space. I inherited this floor plan and this equipment setup. So in order to put my stamp on how I like to cook, I purged 3 fryers and a flat top out of here, and told them I needed a rig. I took the dimensions of the equipment I took out. I messaged them, and Chris was very nice enough to move my schedule ahead of everybody else's.
Beautiful.
He knocked the entire thing out in like 8 weeks flat. It was amazing.
With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest, executive chef of Fabel Miami, Ian Fleischmann. My man, Ian, are you feeling unstoppable today?
Absolutely.
Dude, I am super excited for this conversation. You have quite the background, amazing chefs you've worked with, amazing restaurants you've worked at. I know we're going to take some great takeaways from your story, but let's get that motivational, inspirational ball rolling. And I'm realizing I didn't give you a warning about this with a success quote or mantra.
So I worked for Japanese steakhouses for a long time, and for about 5 years of that, I had a very, very strict Japanese head chef, the only white guy in the kitchen, and his way to relate to me was very simple. It was do or do not. There is no try, from Yoda.
Why does that resonate with you? And get right up on that mic. Try to be as close to it as I am.
I mean, it's very accurate for everything we do in this industry. If you're going to do something, do it 100%. There's no half measures, because with a half measure, you're more likely to fail. My earliest memories were family meal and like how welcoming everybody was, but how like rough everybody was on me.
Okay.
Like, how do you not know how to mop a floor?
Because I'm 14.
Yeah. So like growing up on a farm, being thrown into this like mishmash of cultures, it was like crack, man. Like family meal every day was from a different culture.
That's cool.
And like I always loved food. Like
Yeah.
I was grossly overweight as a child. And this just became like I waited all week for the weekend just to go to work.
That's cool. That's a good sign that, you're cut out for this industry. So, I mean, how long, like 14, were you there throughout high school? When did you say to yourself that this is going to be my career?
So I worked at that place for 5 years.
Okay.
19
19 years old.
Yeah. After about 6 months of washing dishes. They started teaching me how to cook, do prep. At 16, they put me out on the tables.
Oh, wow.
I was cooking in front of everybody. It was the joke, the white guy in the Japanese steakhouse, blah, blah, blah. The guy that I largely considered my mentor there, his name was Ancho, Mexican immigrant, became like my stepfather, man.
Okay.
He taught me how to be a man in the workplace.
What does that mean? How, like, if you're teaching somebody how to be a man,
Like I said, man.
right now, like, what is that? Like, if you're echoing his sentiment, what is that? What is the answer to how to be a man in the workplace?
It was putting yourself, like, into it 100%. Like I said, do or do not. There is no try.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you going to do it halfway good when somebody else or yourself is going to have to redo it?
Yeah.
And it just echoed through every little thing. And it, for the first 2 years, we had the same conversation over and over. And then I kind of got it.
What were the biggest lessons you learned during this experience? Because you were here 4 years at Yamato, right? 4 years, a big chunk of your career. What were the biggest lessons that were instilled in you in this time, as far as what it takes to be successful in this industry?
Efficiency. Everybody talks about how can you be more efficient? How can you move with a sense of purpose?
Mm-hmm.
And that was like quintessential. You better move with purpose.
Give me specific examples of how you can increase your efficiency in the kitchen.
I mean, it's small things. Like, especially there, it was creative ways. Put a bus bin up on the edge of a table, slide your cutting board over a little bit. You're chopping mushrooms. You constantly are scraping. You're not, chopping something, picking it up, moving it over. It was always something. Every move you made had a reason.
I mean, so when you're designing a restaurant, if you're listening to this, like, ask yourself, like, how can I reduce the amount of movement? How can I reduce the amount of footsteps? How can I, like, literally the shortest distance between objects and everything you do, and it's constantly improving, like, because you're constantly going to see ways to do it better, and, like, teach your people to, like, think like this too, right? Like, how if you've discovered a way to do something better, let us know. That's the new standard.
Yeah,
right? And that seems like that's kind of what was going on here at this Japanese steakhouse. But
yeah,
that's also Kaizen. That's Japanese culture.
You're leading from the front of the pack, man.
Exactly.
I mean,
pulling.
That's truly what separates, like, good operators that retain people. Like, nobody wants to work for the guy who doesn't actually do anything, walks around with a clipboard. It's the guy doing the little things. The guy picking up a piece of trash off the ground after everything's clean.
Yeah.
And walking around and making sure it's right. And you get into Benu, and it's like, I've never worked with a recipe that's all in grams. Well, it's very intelligent. Now I don't got to get cups and tablespoons and this and that.
Yeah.
So it's every day when I walked in, you get banged up in places like that. And every day you learn something. Time management was the biggest thing there. Because, like, okay, you walk in the door, and then there's these different break points throughout the day that the entire kitchen gets broken down, cleaned, reset, and you go again. Every day at noon, everybody got smoothies with all the fruit scraps. It was, now in retrospect, it was the best way to treat your employees to run at such a high level.
Yeah.
Because you also couldn't just let anybody in the door there. The stakes are too high.
Yeah.
But people are treated very well there. You get a fantastic family meal every day. You know exactly what you're walking into every day. At the end of each night, you recap tomorrow. We have 63 guests on the book. There's these allergies coming in. And when you're prepping the next day, you prep out all of your tables. A portion of noodles for a 4-top is in a deli with 4 portions in it.
Yeah.
So each table you grab, okay, 2-top, boom.
So
you're
your mise en place for each turn.
It was amazing.
That's awesome.
Like, the level of focus and determination in that place to do everything perfect, I've never seen anything like.
Well, we put a lot of emphasis in this industry about the brief, right? The pre-meal, the pre-shift meeting where, like, here's who's coming in, but also, like, I think we should do the same thing at the end of the day. Like, a lot of times we'll catch things in the act and we'll bring things up and we'll correct people in the moment. What would the power be of being able to just put that off another hour and knowing that you're going to be able to bring that to the surface after everyone's left, and you can have it in, like, a private setting, this conversation, right? But also reflecting, like, what went well today, what didn't go well. Like, we don't do enough debriefing in this industry. I think that's a huge opportunity missed.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we do it with our chefs here, and we have an end-of-night report that we send out nightly that just talks about each portion of the day. So my morning chef, he talks about receivables, which products are coming in correctly, what problems are we having with vendors, what time they're coming in, how can we talk to them and make things better. He fills out this portion before he leaves. My chef running the pass. This is what's wrong with our cooks. This is what's wrong, what we think is wrong with the front of house. I'm the kind of liaison between all of that. You know, a sous chef running the pass might be a little disgruntled with the front of house, and I know what's going on up here because our kitchen's split levels. Sometimes I have to be able to look at this information, digest it, and tell them, you need to look at it from this perspective for the guest. This is why the front of house is doing it. Stop getting so upset about every little thing.
Yeah.
And that's every day, our debrief.
How do you find that balance of how, like, what is the minimum you think you should give a company when you join them? And, like, how do you find that balance of communicating transparently, like, this is what I'm looking like, I want this to be a stage, or I want this to be employment? How do you walk that line? Are there rules to that?
I mean, it depends on where you're at in your career, man.
Yeah.
Like, if you're somebody that's going out to gain experience, I mean, obviously I'm going to tell you to do everything to the maximum that you can do it.
Yeah.
The best you can do it. I mean, I walked into Bennu wanting a job, and I fought very hard for a job, and I did not get a job.
Yeah.
It's all different levels.
Did they tell you why you didn't get it?
I know why I didn't get it, but we never talked about it.
Oh, really? Why didn't you get it? Are you willing to talk about it now?
Yeah, man, because it's
weird.
It's
Sorry, but I don't
no. It's such a. You would think it's a minimal thing, but it was enough for me not to get hired.
Okay.
So Chef Corey, their passes in the middle. You have your cold section on this side, your hot section on this side, and he twists every xiaolong bao that goes out in that restaurant while he expos. He's got a little wooden table behind him where the dough goes out, and my last day there, like, I'd finally worked my way up to be around him on the pass.
Yeah.
And my job was to, like I said, foretop.
Yep.
The doughs are in the deli. Pull them out, throw them out on the wooden table, and he'll start twisting them. And there was a spoon bane with a little bit of water in it, and I put a spoon back in it, and a couple drops get on the table, and I didn't realize it, and I walk away, and mid-service he says stop. The kitchen halts. When he says something, word of God.
Yeah.
Who did this? I'm honest. Say, hey, it's me. Okay. Resume service. Boom. Done. My last day there, he walks out, he hands me a sugar caddy and goes, thank you for your time.
So where was the next major evolutionary point for you? From thinking about your career, thinking about perspective, people who did things differently but made you better?
It was going into a hotel setting. Okay. So, the Four Seasons in Denver had been open like a year, 2 years max at that time, and I was knocking on doors, and I got in there, and I knew nothing about how hotels operated. And then went in there, and the chef of the whole hotel looked at me. He's like, "You're very overqualified for the only thing that I have open." I'm like, "Well, I just moved across the country twice. I need anything I can get." So I started off as a GM cook there, garde manger, and within 6 months, I was at the top.
Yeah, but what's 6 months in the grand scheme of things?
Nothing, man.
Yeah, and I think people are so like, we have a tendency to be surface level in the moment. We see what, like, the sticker value of something, like the face value of something, and we go, "Oh, I'm way above this," right? But sometimes you have to be willing to step back.
Look, I just got done working for free in the most expensive city in the world, in America at that
anything
time.
was a move up.
Yeah, man. Garde manger cook, I'm actually getting paid. Let's do this. There's also something that you want to do, because this is a creative outlet as well.
But,
I
was going to say, the juxtaposition is also good. Standing out is also good.
So like I said, this guy just cooked weird. And he was really focused on wood fire cooking. And never in my life had I experienced wood fire cooking in this way. Because, we had a wood fire grill at the Four Seasons. It was one of those deep Texas pit grills that cranked up and down, and we grilled steaks on it, and that was it. This guy used wood fire cooking in so many different ways that I had never seen before that I was blown away. And that's when I started developing a personal style to what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
You're regurgitating other people's stuff.
Yeah.
This guy gave me like a paintbrush and a palette and said, go for it.
Yeah. Well, that's what the first 10 years of your career should be, I feel like. Your first 10 years is learning the basics, getting perspective, learning the fundamentals, the tools you need to get to that next place, right? Mm-hmm. But once you get those basics, then you have this arsenal of tools. And now you get to, like, veer away from the standards and the basics and use different techniques in different verticals, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where creativity comes in. It's the combination of all these different experiences through your lens, through your outlet, into something that you're interested in, right? Mm-hmm. So for you, was that live fire cooking?
Yeah, man. Like I said, I'd worked on a wood fire grill before, but then I worked for this guy and I really latched onto it.
Give me some examples of some crazy shit he was doing.
I mean, like, this is before, like, it was widely publicized that, like, I don't know, Grand Achatz at Alinea was, like, taking a burning log and steeping it into cream to make, ice cream with. It was things like that. Yeah. We were taking embers out and then, like, cryovacking, like, whiskey with it and to give it, like, extra smoke. It was him.
Would you put it through a filter after, or would you have all those like little shards?
No, we would filter it, but
Yeah.
it would just be like so smoky.
Yeah.
We would get a zucchini in. We'd break the zucchini down 3 different ways. All of the guts we'd throw into a mesh basket because like Grills by Demont hadn't given us these nice
Yeah.
grilling baskets.
I almost got one of those baskets. They gave me one of the hand grills.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I've got them downstairs.
Yeah, dude. He's like, you can have a basket or you can have a hand grill. And I
Yeah.
was like, give me that hand grill. But the basket's still pretty awesome.
Yeah, so we were taking like the seeds from zucchini and just like blasting them and then charring that. That's the puree. And then we're going to grill the skins and use them a different way. And like there'd just be so many different layers to his cooking. And just like every time I thought something was burned, he'd be like, perfect.
That's flavor.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good
It's
job.
Like, it's like people that pull a pizza out of the oven too soon. It's like, what are you doing? Like all that char is like, that's the good stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
And this is like pre-chef's table. Francis Mallman hadn't buried a potato in ash on TV yet. And we were doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful to me.
Yeah, I think we have to give a little nod to our friends over at Grills by Demont because technically our listeners don't know who these people are yet.
True.
Because so Grills by Demont, that's how we found you. They referred us to you. They said you got to go talk to Ian while you're over in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome guy, what he's doing over there. They know the market really well because they have grills that they make, live fire grills that the best chefs, the best restaurants in the country has these grills in
Mhm.
them. We actually got them on the show. We recorded, but we weren't able to publish the show because we ran into they lost power. Basically, is what happened. Like, just before the interview, and I was like, and they had their little daughter, beautiful little girl, was with us, but she was just like, she's a little girl, like I think 3 or 4 years old. Obviously a distraction for them, right? So I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna come back to Atlanta. We're gonna do this right the next time around. We're gonna do it with power so we can see everything. But that's how we found you. Awesome people, and they make amazing grills. By the way, if you're listening to this and you have a vision for a restaurant that's using live fire, check out Grills by Demont. Awesome people. Sorry, I just wanted to paint that picture for the listeners.
No, they deserve it. Chris
Like,
is the best.
Amazing people. What's the underlying lesson about partnership from that experience that you witnessed that's a lesson for us?
I was a sous chef at that time, and
Yeah.
I don't have the information to comment on that directly for that specific place.
Yeah.
But I mean, read your contracts, man. That's the read your contracts.
Partnership agreements.
Yeah.
So huge. And
Yeah.
it's something that comes up a lot on the show. So whenever I hear something like a partnership not working out, I want to hear about what we learned from that experience.
I mean,
because it's so like, read your contracts. Obviously an awesome lesson, but keep going.
I mean, specifically that instance was the people who developed this large plaza that the restaurant was in were the main backers behind it. I mean, dealing with landlords is tough in this industry as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Dealing with landlords that own most of your actual restaurant is even worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
Yeah. So you lose control, basically. Like.
Yeah.
So what is the key? What's the line in the contract that you should be looking for to avoid this situation? If you know the answer to that.
I don't, man. Like,
Okay.
everything is so situational that,
Yeah.
there's not one specific thing.
But I mean, just be clear on what the partnership is. Are you a silent partner? Are you just money? If they say yes, get that in writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
That's also the way you structure your legal entities, though,
Yeah.
as well.
Yep.
Just starting an LLC and doing a split on it's not going to protect you.
Yeah. And how did your life start to change? Like, when did things start to turn around for you?
So, I'm in AA. I'm still working as a fry cook. I'm like, all right. So, do I want to stay in Florida?
Yeah.
Yes. You start setting little boundaries and goals for yourself. What do I want to do? How do I get there? I want to stay in Florida. I can't have a career outside of Miami because Florida's just not conducive to it. Maybe Orlando, but Orlando's a cesspool.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to go to Miami. I'm in Boca at this point. It's a 45-minute drive. Who do I want to work for? At the time, this guy Brad Kilgore was blowing up. 4 times James Beard nominee, actual nominee, finalist.
Got it.
The guy was killing it. So I messaged him on Instagram. Hey, I know you don't know me. I'm going to come run one of your restaurants. Who the fuck are you?
Yeah. You replied though. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I know
So
you don't know me yet. I'm gonna come run one of your restaurants.
yeah, it was very
Bold.
cocky of me to say. But he was opening a restaurant called Ember. It was all wood fire focused. I want to come run Ember. I was like, can't. We already got a chef for it. So it's kind of the same as the Four Seasons. What can I get? I know once I get in the door that I'm going to outwork anybody because I'm sober. I don't have anything better to do. I just got divorced. I have nothing. All I've got is what I'm going to put into this job. So he's like, why don't you come do a tasting for me at this restaurant called Brava, which is in the Ballet and Opera House here that he was running. Don't meet him, nothing. Come in one day, set up everything for my tasting. Next day, ready to fire. He walks in the door, says, hey, walks into the dining room, goes fire. Don't talk to me at all. So I cook my food. At the end, he calls me out, and he's like, who the fuck are you? I'm like, hey, I'm Ian.
I told you I was going to be wearing one of your restaurants.
He's like, you want a job? I'm like, yeah. Yeah, I want a job. It's like, you want to run this restaurant? It's very weird. It's in a ballet and opera house. You don't always open. You know, we do a lot of catering out of here. It's a different beast. Whatever, man. I'll take the job. And, you know, it just grew from there. I helped him at other restaurants because we worked and we're open from 5 to 7:30. Then the show starts. Close down. We do 150 covers, like very good food in a very short amount of time. And then it's, you know, I'd get out and then I'd bounce over to Kaido or Ember or one of his other restaurants and help out there.
Okay.
I was just eating it up, taking in as much as I could constantly. Started doing very large caterings out of there. Like the NFL came to town, the NFL Honors Awards, you know, 2,000 football players.
Wow.
Run that.
It's a lot of hungry people.
Yeah, like it was a lot
eat a lot too.
a lot of really big challenges
Yeah.
while running this restaurant, running all the concessions in both the ballet and the opera house and the musical stage that they have, because it's 2 giant buildings. It's huge. We did the Democratic debate that year. We did NFL honors that year. Like, it was a lot.
Wow. So what did you? Would you say you evolved at this time beyond getting sober and redirecting your energy and your focus? I'm sure that helped, right?
Yeah.
You don't realize how much energy goes into drinking and partying until you start doing it. You're like, oh, I got this free time now.
Yeah.
And energy. I don't feel hungover anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all changed, man. Like, all of the things that I had learned from running the hotel and the banquet section just got applied to catering. Like, there were so many different facets to this job, like running a restaurant, running a banquet operation. Like, not a lot of people can do that job. It was very complex, a lot of moving parts. And this weird history that I had was the perfect mishmash.